Okay, this is the Big Guy Movie Reviews. We're going to talk about the new Blair Witch movie. Blair Witch 2016, Blair Witch 2, whatever you want to call it. Just don't call it Blair Witch 3 because Book of Shadows is garbage and does not exist. In fact, this movie acts like Book of Shadows doesn't exist, okay? Because it just basically pretends like that movie never happened, which is the good idea to do. This is directed by Adam Wingard, the guy that directed You're Next and The Guest, which is a movie I really did like. You're Next was an okay film, but I really didn't like it as much as everybody else did, mostly because the acting from a lot of the characters really wasn't all that great. But I can understand that the main character is one of the reasons why the movie is so good to some people, but I really couldn't get into it as much as everybody else did. But this movie I did like. I did like this movie, and I did like the first Blair Witch Project, and I really liked that the movie gives you all the things that are scary about what's happening when you go camping, that the woods can be scary at night, and you can't lose your sense of how much time goes by. You can also get very claustrophobic at times. You can also feel very cut off from the world being in the woods. So that's one of the things that the Blair Witch Project plays on, and did a very good job with that. And this movie does a very good job with those same features too. The plot of this movie is our main character, played by James Allen McCune, James, as he's called in the movie, is the brother to the leading lady from the first movie, Heather Donahue. And he wants to find out what happened to his sister all those years ago. He wants to go into the woods, find out what happened to his sister, and he's taking some friends along with him to help document what happened. His girlfriend Lisa, played by Callie Hernandez. His best friend Peter, played by Brandon Scott. And Ashley, who's Peter's girlfriend, played by Corbin Reed. And two people who are guides for them to help them find out where Heather and her two friends were camping, and start searching from there. Lane and Talia, played by Wes Robinson and Valerie Curry. And that's basically our movie. Spooky things happen in the woods. Again, people go running around the woods screaming each other's names with cameras. And this time this group has a drone camera as well. Eventually they find the spooky cabin, more scary things happen, and that's pretty much the movie. And it's quite obvious that's what happens. That's what happened in the first one. But there is some differences between this one and the first one too. This one is a bit more creepier than the first one in my opinion, and you get to see more of what's in the cabin when you get to see the cabin eventually. So that's one of the things I did like about this movie. And yes, it does follow much of what happened in the first movie, beat by beat, but at the same time, there's some new things as well. I did like the drone camera. I thought that added some pretty cool ideas to the movie. And the earbud cameras, that was a pretty cool idea as well. The house, once you see that again, that is much more creepier this time around, and you actually get to see a little bit of what could be the Blair Witch, but not that much really, because they still leave it up to the imagination. So that's very cool. So what are the problems with this movie? Well, for starters, the jump scares. There's a lot of jump scares in this movie that are unnecessary, and that's not very good considering this movie is directed by Adam Wingard. Adam Wingard should be above jump scares. Yeah, it's okay to have some jump scares, but at least have more real scares more than jump scares, though, in the movie. So, and this movie felt like it had maybe a little bit too many jump scares. Also, a couple of the characters are a bit unlikable. Peter was very unlikable, and to some extent, Lane was kind of unlikable too at times. So I almost couldn't wait for those two to disappear into the woods. But the rest of them I did like. And I actually thought this was a pretty good movie. It was a very scary movie, very good suspenseful film. I did like the third act near the end where they find the cabin. That was done very well, and it was just a pretty good movie. I didn't really mind the fact that it followed some of the same beats on the first one. I thought it was done very well. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a B. It's definitely worth checking out. And if you're a fan of the Blair Witch Project, I think you'll like this movie. And that's all I got to say for Blair Witch 2016, or just Blair Witch.